what do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Roo.
Welcome to Couch in the Roo, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis, inspiring people to be better, look better, do better, all that stuff, every damn day of your life. And our Thursday night show, presented by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today, play the games we're betting, bet the Masters, bet against the Tigers, whatever it might be. Also, Firekeepers is looking for volunteers for the 10-year anniversary tournament of their Firekeepers Casino Hotel Championship, their LPGA tournament this June 5th through June 11th at the Battle Creek Country Club. We tweeted out the link if you're interested in being a volunteer for that and hanging around professional golf for an early week in June, which sounds pretty awesome. You can sign up and register there. Jason, how you doing, brother?
Peacock.
How many Tigers baseball games are left?
What are we, 7 in, so 155?
I don't know if I can handle the Bally's announce team. Today was enough, I think. I need to put on the radio and Dan Dickerson.
It's probably the way to go.
It's complete ass. I'm sorry.
What made it so bad today?
It's Shepard, who's a good guy. Simo, another good guy. Kirk Gibson, fantastic guy. Love Gibby. He's a legend. But you put them all together. And then, don't forget about Mr. Hare, Johnny Kane. Throwing it down to Johnny Kane for some fun shenanigans with Detroit Dan or some whatever shit's going on there. Anyway, it sounded like that they had a meeting and they were trying to get these guys into a mix and kind of a little flow of trying to be fun, and it just was complete ass. I'm sorry. We did it last year too. I mean, let's get a fun, entertaining, up from top to bottom broadcast team. If this team's going to be complete ass, we might as well have a good time in the broadcast booth.
So, I'm with you. It's not the best, strongest announced team. I do wonder if they had a team that, if we weren't always so annoyed by the baseball on the field, if we'd feel different about what was going on in the booth.
It's just too kind of hokey, old-timer ball, like Dan Petrie holding a baseball, and it's just, you know what I mean? Like, let's get into 2023, and I love Gibby, but, the Parkinson's makes him kind of slow, and it's just, sometimes it just doesn't work. Right? And, I mean, I'm not saying you have to get rid of Gibby and all that shit, but something has to change. Let's get Mario and Pemba back. Where is Mario? Would you ever think that you were longing for the days of Rod Allen, though?
I know
ever?
Shep is a good guy. That's where I stand on this.
Thanks, big fella.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. I tell you what it's going to be a long season for is this Tigers team is very different than years ago. And unfortunately, I think it's going to be more frustrating in a different way. Like last year, they could not score, but you felt like they were competent in the bullpen. They lose 2-0, and it was like, whatever, that's shit baseball. And this will probably be more exciting, but I think it'll wind up being more frustrating because that bullpen is ass. And they are going to blow a lot of leads in their starting rotation. I think that every time Rodriguez is on the mound, we bet against the Tigers hard.
Just Rodriguez.
Maybe a couple others, but definitely him. I still got to evaluate the rest of the staff.
Spencer Turnbull, I don't know. We can make some money on him, it appears.
Yeah. Well, but it was the bullpen.
13.5 ERA.
It was the bullpen again, I mean.
Yeah, but he gave up 5 earned runs.
They were his runs, but he wasn't the guy who, well, I guess he didn't give up the 3-run jack, though. That wasn't him. They were his guys on the base path.
So Turnbull's a good guy.
I'm just saying a decent bullpen gets you out of some of that mess is all it is. It's going to be a long year, and the thing is they're a better hitting team than a year ago, so what happened against the Astros is going to happen sometimes too, so you're going to lose some bets. But I still think
And they were interviewing Scott Harris, and I know he has to kiss Illich's ass, but they were talking about, oh my God, what ownership has done with the Whitecaps. They have a buffet style thing in the clubhouse now. I'm like, why are we giving this asshole any kind of credit? Because they have more food at the Whitecaps games?
It's annoying.
drives me nuts.
There's no question about it. It's
maybe I'll get over it. But.
It's annoying. All right. As we do before we dig into the Groovy Donut Twitter questions, and fantastic stuff from you guys this week as always. What we are betting, presented by Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. What are we are betting this weekend? Jason, what are you betting this weekend?
Well, I have a little sprinkled money on Spieth, but he decided to be kind of weird and out of 3 holes hit it into the water. So I don't know how much he will hold up. There's going to be some weird weather with the Masters. I think I might wait till after the 3rd round and see where if there's any value in the top of the leaderboard. Everybody's tied at like 7 under right now, but I think after the 3rd round, he maybe with the weather can find some value in there. So I'm not gonna lay any more bets until I see 2 more rounds of action.
Yeah, I think not only do I need to be done betting golf, because already all my bets are just
so much fun though when you win. If
just
you ever do,
lighting money on fire, just donating it to Firekeepers, which I don't mind giving occasionally, but I just need golf as a sport. Like the 4 majors, I need to do something else that weekend because this happens repeatedly. Like I might have a really good weekend with the Premier League, and I have a couple Premier League bets I really like, and I lose it all because golf is ass, and everything everybody thinks about. People who know things about golf can't predict what's going to happen in golf.
The players can't.
The players don't.
They can tell you they feel good.
Yeah, like the idea that Tiger Woods making the cut was a good play. Tiger Woods isn't making the cut. He's not making the cut. He's not. He's just not.
Yeah, but you don't want to root. Like I looked at that bet and I thought about, but you don't want to.
I took the juice, like minus 150, minus 160, whatever it was. Tiger Woods to make the cut. What kind of moron am I? Tiger Woods wasn't making the cut. He's not making the cut. He's just
another day.
We'll see. I'm really down on golf right now. I'm excited that the English Championship division is playing all its games on Good Friday, and I'll be watching that instead. So couple games for this weekend that I'll be betting that I really like. First of all, love West Ham at Fulham as a pick'em. That means draw no bet, minus 113, pretty much even money, just a little bit of juice there. Fulham's without its best player, Mr. Mitrovic, and he's long suspension, and they're a very different team without him. West Ham's in a tough spot, relegation battle for them. West Ham is going to they're just a better team than Fulham. A lot of the underlying numbers. I like West Ham there as well. And Chelsea can't score to save their lives, but Wolverhampton is worse, much worse. And Chelsea minus 107 on the money line at Wolverhampton. You need the win to cash, but love it a ton. I'll probably parlay those 2 things as well. West Ham and Chelsea as the parlay. That's what I'm betting. That is both 10 a.m. games on Saturday morning.
Perfect timing.
Make your money by noon. Burn it all on the Masters. Right? That's probably what I'll do.
Or hit the blackjack tables. Roll it up.
There you go. All right, that is what we're betting, presented by Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Are you ready to dig into these Groovy Donut Twitter questions?
No, I need 15 minutes. Can you? No. Eric Schultz up first. MSU was built on defense and rebounding. Let's talk D. From 1998 through 2020, MSU finished 130th or worse in defensive efficiency 2 times. They've now done it each of these last 3 seasons. In seasons where MSU has won the Big Ten, their average rank is 24th. Will they get there next year, and if so?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question because you bring up some important part. I mean, the hallmark of Michigan State basketball is defense and rebounding, and they have not been, even this past year, they weren't their traditional team. Now, there was a while where they were a really good defensive club with certain metrics, and they got away from that at the end. But I do think if they have better depth next year, which they will have, and they probably won't have Joey Hauser, who's not your most defensive stalwart player, that you're able to hold people accountable and you're able to play people fewer minutes and you're able to get after people in a different way. And I'm talking about not Izzo getting after his players. I'm talking defensively get after people. That maybe it works. We're going to see how quickly the freshmen too push people and defend at a high level. But yeah, they can get there because the guys they're bringing in are guys who I think can add to who they are defensively. And I think some of the pressure on the minutes played, I still think Michigan State's backcourt in terms of 2-way guards even without the guys coming in, Akins, Hogard, Walker is very much upper tier in college basketball. And what they need is better rim protection, better defensive rebounding, and they need to be better there and probably a little bit better at the forward spot.
And we said, would somebody please guard somebody?
Next one from Eric. Let's talk rebounding. From 98 to 2020, MSU finished 40th or worse in rebounding percentage twice. They've now done it in each of these last 3 seasons. In seasons where MSU has won the Big Ten, their average rebounding rank nationally is 27th. Will they get there next year, and if so, why?
I think it's 2.7th is what he wrote there.
2.7th.
Yeah, which is pretty incredible. This was their big weakness this year. This was the reason I don't think they could have beaten UConn unless they got extremely hot from outside the court, or if they'd gotten all the way from outside the arc, if they'd gotten all the way to the national championship. I think some of this comes down to that being a priority and having options, again, to hold people accountable to it and making that the priority in who plays. So if Carson Cooper, for example, winds up putting on 12 pounds of muscle and becoming a much better rebounder, and he's your best rebounder, and you play him because he's your best rebounder, I think you can demand that of Mady Sissoko, who I think is a very, at times, average rebounder, which is part of the problem. He's bouncy enough, never going to have great hands, but if there's one thing that Mady Sissoko ought to be able to do, it's become a really good rebounder. He ought to watch film of the Rodmans, of the Ben Wallaces of the world, of guys like that, and I mean, he's got sharp elbows, which are a pain to deal with if you're playing against him. He's got a quick second jump. Like he ought to be a better rebounder than he is.
Carry a basketball around.
And then they've got guards who should rebound. And so, yeah, it hasn't been elite for a bit, and we'll see whether the depth and some of the growth gets them back to that.
Matt, next. Is it positive? Is it a positive thing for MSU as time goes on without any more transfers or players leaving? If a player transfers, you'd think they'd want to do it sooner rather than later before other teams start filling roster spots. And from G.E. Miller, how many more MSU players leave and join the portal this offseason?
So I do think a couple things. One, the longer obviously they stick around, the better that is, right? The more less likely they're going to leave because a lot of people have already jumped in. And I don't think, though, with some of these guys, it's all about the portal. They've got a longer deadline to decide whether they're going to leave or just come back. Like I think with Joey Hauser, who's likely gone, although there's a little bit of evidence that he hasn't made that decision final in his own head, or Tyson Walker, the decision would not be come back to Michigan State. It would be professional basketball at whatever level or Michigan State. And that they have, what is it? It's June. I mean, they got time still there. So that is they may be in a different spot than the actual transfer portal, which is what, six not exactly sure when that ends. But yeah, if they wanted to transfer to another school, I would think you would probably know about it by now.
Next one from Matt. Isn't sometimes best to have some players move on? The 2016-2017 MSU team and had basically all players come back, causing a logjam at center. Bridges to play out of position and round of 32 exit.
Absolutely, 100%. It is you have to grow and change as a team. You cannot run it back. It doesn't work to run it back. Now they've got something changing because they're bringing in 4 guys, and you're in a weird spot. This is where you played with fewer scholarship players, so you're in the spot where you're almost not losing anybody, but you're bringing a bunch of guys in, and so that's a dynamic that doesn't usually happen in college basketball. I don't know that the Tyson Walker coming back thing is for sure the best thing for Michigan State. It might be. He's a hell of a player. And to not want him back sounds ridiculous. But there is also a world in which Jaden Akins growing into a more marquee role and more minutes for Jeremy Fears Jr. makes the most sense for the highest ceiling for Michigan State. There's also an argument that if you have a backcourt of guys really competing for minutes and you have talent like Akins, Hogard, Fears, and Walker all available for you, you're going to be able to overwhelm people. Somebody's going to be hot. You're going to be competing hard for minutes. People can go 1,000% while they're in the game. So, but I don't know. Like, to me, as good a player as Joey Hauser is, I think he just had his moment in college basketball. It was a hell of a season. It was a hell of a reclamation. He's ready to move on. I think ultimately if he comes back, it'll probably be a decision that's a little bit for the money for an NIL deal. And I don't know that that ever works out. And I don't know if that lets other people grow as well. I don't think bringing back everybody works. I just don't. I don't think it'll be the same. I don't think people will be happy. I don't think it'll wind up getting Michigan State where they want to go. They probably need to lose at least one guy. And you can argue Walker, you can argue Hauser. I would say probably Hauser, having Hauser and Hall both back would be stifling to some of the time and minutes of other guys. But that's probably where you have to. I don't know that Joey Hauser coming back helps them.
Matt and G.E. Miller, as things stand today, what is MSU's starting five and the top three players off the bench for next year?
So I do think I do think there's a really good chance of the starting five next year is going to look at the beginning of the year a lot like it did this year, just with Hall over Hauser. And so you have to think about that. How much better are you actually? Now, do I think Sissoko will be the starting center all year? I do not. Unless Matty Sissoko takes a step that I don't know that he has in him, I don't see how Xavier Booker, Carson Cooper, somebody like that is not the starting center pretty quickly. And maybe to open the game. So if you were talking to me about by December, who's the starting center? By January, who's the starting center? It'll be somebody else. But I do think Malik Hall will start. I do think Jaden Akins will start. I do think A.J. Hoggard will start. And I do think Tyson Walker will start. So the top three players off the bench will be Booker, Fears, and I guess and then Cooper or that's a good. It's center. It's a good question, and how they use the four and everything. I would say Booker, Fears, Cooper would be the three top guys off the bench. Having said that, I have no idea what Cohen Carr is. I just know he can dunk, and so we'll see the other two freshmen, and they may have a say in that.
Jarrett next. Is Jeremy Fears the highest-ranked point guard recruit ever by Izzo coming in?
That's a good question. I don't. Give me 1 second. Give me some Hoff for a second.
I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize.
Okay. No, it's not even close. I should have known that. First of all, he's ranked like the 24/7 composite has him 24th nationally, and Marcus Taylor was way above that 20 years ago, or more than 20 years ago, 23 years ago, whatever it was. He's ahead of Cassius. I'd have to see where Kalen Lucas was near top 30. He's in the range of the Kalen Lucases, though. That is the range of player that Jeremy Fears is coming in, at least according to the recruiting rankings.
Next one from Jarrett. What Big Ten teams make the NCAA tourney next year, and would you take the over or under on 6?
I have no idea who will make it because, the season even started. Like, if you looked at the beginning of last season, you would have picked Ohio State maybe to win it, and look what happened. So, but you go over 6. If you can ever find an over-under like that, that's the play because the Big Ten, no matter what happens one year, the next year, not that people forget about it, but the way teams get judged, it's going to be more than 6. There are going to be more than 6 teams in the Big Ten that are going to have NCAA tournament resumes.
Mr. Benjen, Izzo has said that he's wanted to take his program to the best venues in the country. Which ones are the best 2 to 3 outside the Big Ten in which he hasn't played?
Outside of the Big Ten that he hasn't played? That's he's played the Palestra, he's played Hinkle. He's played the Garden. I really don't know that the places he hadn't played that would be fun to go to a game, or probably small intimate venues somewhere that I'm just not thinking of. It's a really good question, but he's played a lot of places that are interesting to play.
Don't coach my team.
Nick Palmer, are the Tigers as big of a dumpster fire as they seem?
Do you think they are?
Buenos tardes. It is time for the Detroit Tigers.
Do you think they are?
With Grabanito Couch and Jason D.
I mean, you have people telling you not to overreact because it's only been, 4 or 5 games? But, yeah, what's the upside here?
So there are a couple ways to get through this Tiger season. One is Skyman, and, Skyman's got great deals all the time, and that can help you get through 162 games. I would also recommend Groovy Donuts. If you have a box of donuts next to you and the Tigers go to their bullpen, just start chewing, because it's going to be rough. You can even get your little, Detroit Tigers Miguel Cabrera donut. Monica would love to do that for you. Like, she'll do his whole face.
Make him out of donuts.
Well, the thing about Miguel Cabrera is he's round enough that they don't have to change the shape a lot to put him. He fits well on the actual donut. Also, this this weekend, you can order Groovy Donuts Easter donuts. They have an Easter sale going on right now. If you go to groovydonuts.com and check out their Easter sale, coupon code Groovy Easter get you 25% all merchandise, whole bean coffee at groovydonuts.com as well. But if you want Easter donuts, go to groovydonuts.com, get your orders in today. Some fantastic offerings, and look, Groovy Donuts does donuts. I mean, you don't need to. You know how I feel about Groovy Donuts. Is that a bad line? We'll fix that in post. But it's just sometimes I get emotional about Groovy Donuts. That's all.
Nick Palmer, if you were Izzo, what changes would you make to the roster?
I would definitely have a conversation with a few guys. Changes to the roster. You've got what you've got coming back. I would have conversations though with Tyson Walker, so he understood that they do have Jeremy Fears Jr. coming in, and he does. But like, his role is going to be different. That Jaden Akins needs a bigger role. And I would have conversations with a lot of my returning guys, understand that it's going to be a little different team, and that they're going to have to earn. It's not just run it back. But there's not a lot he can change to his roster unless he runs somebody out, and I don't know that you want to do that. And he's obviously playing hard on the loyalty card in terms of not bringing in transfers, and so he's not going to run guys out either unless something really isn't working out, like it wasn't with Pierre Brooks.
Nick Palmer, if you were a 5-star recruit, which non-Big Ten coach would you want to play for? Nate Oates.
He's got your back.
Am I right?
Wrong place, wrong time.
Do all sorts of weird shit and get away with it.
Yeah, I don't. That's a good question.
Calipari.
Yeah, I don't know most of these guys. I would.
Well, it's just a question. You don't have to do a bio on all these.
But
guys.
what I mean is, 6 months ago, I would have said Chris Beard. What do I know? So that becomes.
Well, you didn't know he was going to have an incident at his house. I mean,
I did not.
You could still say that.
I did not.
People make mistakes.
Would you want to play for Rick Pitino at St. John's? I don't know. And sometimes who might be fun to play for wouldn't be the best guy in the world necessarily. But it's
like these kids care.
Yeah. Well, sometimes
he's not going to bust my balls, and where's my money? That's pretty much it.
I don't know if they're all like that.
Please. Nick Palmer. No, Brian Mahoney next. Convenient week to start back up with a Tuesday show with no listener takes or questions, so that Graham can try to slide on both the Muskox cutoff and the commitment and pledge fiascos. People don't forget, outside of QB, what MSU position group battle do you guys find the most interesting?
Yeah, no, the Muskox. If you missed the
Were those two different questions? Or?
Yeah, well, I combined them and it didn't really work.
Okay.
Yeah. If you missed Sunday night show, I got one of our own sponsors had a really good April Fool's joke that I fell for the entire show.
Cockburn.
About offering
until
cutoff.
The bitter end.
I mean, the final 5 minutes, is what you need to listen to when I figure it out.
Not for the Upper Deck Jerk guy, but for
right.
Graham's realizing all of a sudden the Muskox cutoff thing wasn't real.
Outside of the position group battle, which do we find most interesting? I don't know. Is there anybody?
Thorne.
It's quarterback, but that's what he's saying. Outside of quarterback, what do you find?
I thought he
interesting?
meant. No, never mind. Okay. I mean the offensive line, right?
Yeah.
How are they going to look?
To
Are
me,
we going to have to pray?
To me, that's it. You want to see a group that, and it's really hard
Looks
to tell in spring
serviceable.
games. Yeah, you want
Serviceable looking.
and the thing is, you're not going to know that till the fall.
Ugh.
It's just,
You mean I'm not going to be able to tell after a spring game?
yeah, you're definitely not going to be able to tell after a spring game. That's for sure.
It's too long to wait. JD next. How much does Graham hate himself for tweeting that Kurtang committed to MSU? Sounds like Graham can't even commit to his bits. There's so many bits he forgets. Like
It slipped. So when
it's the best though.
Kurt Tang, the new shooting guard for 2004, pledged to Michigan State, I dropped the word commits, and it was quick. It was, I don't know what happened. I blacked out or something.
It's a good bit. Is that another bit though? Are you doing that on purpose?
Am I-
Everything's a bit with you.
I
It's
don't-
just- you never know.
If there's one thing you can be sure about me, it's that I'm never playing 4D chess. I'm sitting here playing checkers.
All right. JD, why did the MSU football account delete the practice video of the Caton Hauser dime? Waiting for Hopcat to introduce the Hauser burger first? Ooh, the Hauser burger.
Here's my guess: is
Joey Hauser?
most things that they put out there are intentional. When they show a player getting an interception or a player making a great catch, they're aware of who they're putting out there.
They are playing 4D chess.
Well, yeah, I would say it's not that complicated what they're doing. And somebody somewhere did something that they thought, and it was probably completely innocuous. It was probably like, hey, here's a good play. But they knew that that's going to lead to all sorts of just sort of, what's going on here? Why is he, that speculation and whatnot. So I think that's what happened. They were trying to avoid the speculation. And that's why they did it.
People are going to speculate no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Joey Walter next. Number 1, MSU basketball makes the Final Four. 2, the Lions reach the NFC Championship. And 3, Juwan Howard is out as Michigan head coach. Which one happens in 2024?
This is the Cosmic Fries question of the day presented by our friends at Hopcat, Best Damn Burger Bar. Unbelievable beers on tap. Great place to watch a game. And home, of course, of the Peyton Thorne burger, regardless of how he is playing at quarterback. Fantastic burger. And good place to watch the Masters, watch a Tigers game. Because here's the thing. If the Tigers are really bad, you just order another beer, order some more Cosmic Fries, and you're good. This is not, of course, just so people remember, only the hot take of the day comes with a gift card, but we appreciate you and we want to honor you, but
Praise your name.
Praise your name. It's a good thing to say heading to Easter weekend, right?
Joey Walter.
Joey Walter.
We speak your name.
We speak your name for the
Like
Cosmic
Oprah.
Fries. Cosmic Fries question of the day presented by our friends at Hopcat. Hopcat.com for location information, including East Lansing and Grand Rapids, Indianapolis, Detroit, Ann Arbor, and several other locations near you. All right, to the question. MSU basketball makes the Final Four. Lions reach the NFC Championship. Juwan Howard is out as Michigan head coach. Which, I don't know that any of them is going to happen in 2024, but which one is most likely to happen in 2024?
Well, with everyone picking the Lions to basically win the Super Bowl, which I can't stand. I hate that. What would Juwan Howard have to do? Because I'm with you. I don't think they would fire him. Another NIT season? Would Juwan leave?
If things go poorly, I could see a mutual parting of the ways.
Right.
So here's what's interesting is sometimes, a year ago, there are times we get these sort of what ifs or which would happen, and none of them are realistic.
That's all right.
And this time they are. But this time I think all of these
Isn't
are
that crazy?
realistic, which is insane.
The Lions make the NFC Championship. That's realistic now. I guess I would go the Lions. MSU basketball, we're kind of a ways away from that. I don't know.
I would go.
I'm going to answer your question, number 2.
I would go Final Four, Michigan State. They've done it before. They're going to have a team that's ranked in the top 10 most likely all of the year. And the Lions still
The Lions are rolling, though.
they are, but they got to
Have
win
a
one.
draft.
They got to win one playoff game before I can think they're going to win 2. You know, like it's you
Why
know,
do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Let's
just
skip over that.
the other thing that makes it harder for the Lions is in the old days, the two teams got a bye. Now just one gets the bye. So in the old days, to reach the NFC Championship, if you won the division and you could be the second seed, and you just have to win one home playoff game to get to the NFC Championship. Now you got to win two, and I just find that really hard. I could see the Juwan Howard thing happening though, but I don't think it would be. I don't think it would be a straight up firing. It would be things just weren't working. You know, he wanted to do something else. It was 2 straight not great years, that sort of thing.
Spartan 18770. Graham, what will you be looking for at the MSU spring game? O-line.
Yeah.
Hauser v. Thorne.
It's quarterback play. It really is. I mean, because a couple things. One, it's hard to judge the offensive line, but you're starting with quarterback play. You want to see if there's anything that stands out there, and then you're just waiting to be wowed. You're waiting to see somebody do something you don't expect or that stands out that you go, huh? Because that's what this team needs. They need guys who stand out, right? That's where this program is. And you think a guy certainly like Keon Coleman may be that guy. He's certainly shown bits of it. And whatever he does in the spring game isn't as important as somebody else, a running back, a corner looking like, whoa, who's that guy? And sometimes that happens. I mean, I still remember the first time watching Josiah Scott play corner and the way he closed on the ball and being like, whoa, that's something. That guy's pretty good. You're just waiting to see something you didn't expect, and that's really what stands out, what you're looking to stand out and then write about.
Spartan with this one. How is Izzo viewed nationally if he never wins the second championship?
I mean, he's been
a Hall
at
of Famer.
Yeah, he's still a legend. I mean, he's not. I don't know. I mean, the second title obviously puts you in a different category among coaches who have done it, but I don't know to what degree you're viewed differently. Like,
it'll hurt a little.
Well, it hurt him.
Yeah.
It'll hurt a little bit. But let me ask you this: Bill Self finally won a second title, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you view Bill Self differently after last year's title than you did before?
Absolutely not.
That's what I mean. Like that. So I don't know. It's a good question, but I don't know what the sort of perception of somebody is just for that second title.
Last one from Spartan. How many bites does it take for you to eat a Melting Moments ice cream cookie?
Really depends on the temperature outside. Like we've all bought, well, not all of us. I certainly have purchased a Melting Moment sandwich when it's freezing outside, and so the sandwich is freezing and it doesn't thaw, and you're like nibbling at it like a little squirrel. And you're just trying to get it to melt a little bit in your hand so you can enjoy it. This is why Groovy Donuts are better than Melting Moments, as great as Melting Moments are. And I wish they would maybe combine to do a Melting Moments Groovy Donut. I don't know what that would be. But nonetheless, if you want something that you can know you're going to take 5 or 6 really good bites of, you're not going to get an ice cream headache, and you're going to enjoy to the fullest extent in any weather. Go to groovydonuts.com, place your order, or swing by either location on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamson. They're open 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday, including Easter Sunday.
Neurotic Pants. Does the 24-hour news cycle hurt sports journalism, i.e. another high school kid makes a pledge?
I mean, I don't think it hurts journalism in certain ways, but I don't know if the high school kid making a pledge thing has anything to do with it. I think just the how quickly people move on from things hurts people's willingness to do good stories that take time to do. So there's sometimes we're sometimes prompted to we tell a story, like you go to a press conference. Well, this is the way it should work. You get an interesting tidbit from a kid at a press conference or talking to him in an interview, and rather than blowing that one little tidbit you have in a story that's one quote or one sourced 500 words and having a headline that works, you ought to go back and make 2 or 3 other phone calls and find out more about him and do a little something. That stuff is done less because of how quickly the news cycle goes. And the problem is you're not rewarded for doing that really good work, because when some nitwit puts on a really good headline, and I've been guilty of being this nitwit, that headline becomes either what is found in a Google search or is the crux of the story. So people don't have the appetite for the better story when it comes out because they don't like. I almost wish when you did the deeper dive story, there was a way of explaining like this is a better fucking story. Like maybe that needs to be instead of like your name colon. This is a better fucking story colon. Same headline as the other nitwit who put up a shit story but had one good anecdote. Does that make any sense?
No.
Okay.
Neurotic pants. I'm not a gambler, but I'd like to experience the novelty of placing a safe bet at a sports book just once. I have an 8-hour layover in Vegas this summer. Any suggestions for a fun place and a safe bet? For that matter, what would you do with 8 hours in Vegas?
Oh, boy. Okay, these are separate questions.
You get in a cab and you tell them to take you to a weed place.
Okay, so wait a second. Let's go back in time, though, Jason. If you were, say you were 29-year-old Jason, and you have 8 hours in Vegas, and that's it, and you arrive, what would you try to get done in 8 hours?
Lots of Jaeger. I mean, there'd be beer, Jaeger, weed. I mean, it would just be an absolute shit show for 8 hours, and I probably would miss my flight. I'm
So
probably
be-
guaranteeing that, right?
It'd be 24 hours.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, a fun place. I mean, I guess you don't want to go to Fremont Street if you're looking for like a fun place. I mean, it's old Vegas, but
I like Fremont.
I love Fremont, but he's saying a safe. I mean, he keeps using the word safe. I don't
Yeah.
want him to go out and get hurt here.
So, but when you're saying safe bet, are you saying a bet that like nobody's gonna like steal your money
a
from you?
Harry
or-
Gagnon special at minus 370.
Yeah, you're looking for something
That's
you
safe?
can't lose because that's hard. And the worst part is in baseball season, you can lose any baseball bet. What you really want to do is budget money you've already lost and then place a fun bet. So
And you have to cash out there, though, too.
what you don't want is a fun place and a safe bet. You want a safe place and a fun bet, right? You got those backwards. And most,
Get stoned and throw 100 on the roulette table, red or black,
yeah, just
and then
just
head back to the airport.
have a budget and go to like
Get something to eat.
you can go on the strip somewhere, go to Caesars, go to Bally's, go to there are lots of places. Just I mean, a lot of the casinos are. If you've not been to Vegas before, it's not all important about which one you actually go to, right? You'll just get in one of these
I don't
places.
know if I could do it for just 8 hours, though. Like, if you get on a heater or something, I mean, what do you do? Just not go on the flight?
But Caesars has the great sports book, the big one. So if you're going to do one sports book that's sort of overwhelming and an interesting experience in that sense, I would do Caesar. It's not where I would go to a sports book just to hang out these days. But if it's my first time in Vegas and I want to see like a big Vegas sports book, that might be what I did. But safe bet, I don't know what you mean by safe. Nobody's going to rob you of your money there. But well, that's true. I would put it in a fanny pack or something.
Professor, did you have any good or bad nicknames growing up?
I mean, other than fuckwad, I don't remember.
How would that be a nickname? It's not
what
very
they
nice.
called me on the playground.
Does, like, when you're 17, does that count as growing up still? Because Mad Dog gave me a nickname,
Flip?
Flip, and the reason being was because I was a young 17-year-old intern, and I was, like, answering phones, and I was trying to, like, hit the computer, and Mad Dog goes, "Oh, yeah, Flipper over here. Look at Flipper." And so I was Flip for, like, the next 3 years, and people would be like, "So what's the Flip thing about?" And I had to tell that story, and I'd tell that story, and they would look at me like I took a shit on the floor, like, what does that mean? So thankfully, people stopped calling me Flip.
That is a story almost worth telling, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing
Facts.
Company.
I wish I could juice that story up for you.
South Washington. Great place for brunch on the weekends, Easter brunch. Great place to watch a Tigers game, beer after work. You know the deal. Go to midtownbrewing.net. Check out their menu. They often post their great offerings on their Facebook page, Midtown Brewing Company. Very cool. You see some of their beers, some of their desserts, fantastic desserts as well at Midtown Brewing Company. Yeah, I still think one of the worst. We've done some bad shows here, and this is one of them we're doing tonight. But like the one where we had Dave Mad Dog DeMarco on,
Yeah.
might have been one of our worst
Really?
because
I didn't think it was that bad. You're too hard on it.
it was, and
Dude, it was like 10 minutes long.
it was longer than that.
It was?
Oh my God, getting Dave.
Dog likes to talk. I mean,
it was a
he
good
used to
half,
do it for 3 hours a day.
half hour of like. And the problem was, I don't think our audience that doesn't live in Lansing understood who he was.
Well, no shit.
And so it was.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
I mean, you and Quinn, 69 for a session. I mean, you can switch it up with Mad Dog. It's
maybe
it's over. You acting like it was the 9/11 of the show. It wasn't that bad.
I wasn't going
Mad
to
Dog.
put it in those terms, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. Professor, will you guys help me remove the sleeves from my muskox flannels? I heard it's a style that's gaining popularity.
You come over. I got the scissors. We'll get this. We'll do it. Everybody, shows their
I
guns.
wanted to do it for the bit, like come in with a cutoff, but I didn't want to ruin my muskox.
I know, that's my thing. I thought about
There's no way.
I was like, I'm not putting scissors on these. Even when I was looking at them, I was like, even before I realized I was falling for a April Fool's bit, I was like, there's no way in hell I would ruin a flannel like this. But all right.
Everyone's doing it, Graham.
Yeah. All right.
Gideon next. Is the Tigers team going to be impossible to predict, or was this Astros series just a bad beat?
So, yes and no. The one thing that I think was – so I lost money on the first 2 games of that series, without question. But I doubled the bet and bet it all on the third game because I knew the Tigers were not sweeping the Astros in Houston. There are going to be certain truisms, especially with Rodriguez on the mound. I mean, there are certain times that you can just feel the loss coming, and they are harder to predict than I thought. I think their bats are better than they were a year ago, and so they're going to have games where they score enough and win, and that's tricky. I think over time though, like the Tigers have had a couple teams, Jason, right, where they have been so bad, and this doesn't even happen in baseball that often, that you could win day after day after day, whether it be on the under or on the losing or whatever it was. That's not going to be there. But I still think over the course of 162 games, if you're consistent with your bets, and especially you read the tea leaves here and there, you're going to wind up making
You
money.
have to wait a month.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, because the Houston thing will happen. They'll win a game where they shouldn't. But, when you get 1 month, 2 months into the season, you start seeing how this team's going to play. I think you can start to make a little money.
I'm not waiting. I got to win. I got to win everything back I've lost on the Masters.
Gideon, what should we expect out of Kurt Tang if the pledge turns into a commitment?
It's a good question. I've seen some video of him. Looks like a nice player. Somebody made the Josh Langford comparison. I don't know if that's 100% true. I don't remember. I remember thinking a certain way, and I was a big fan of Langford coming out of high school. And they don't look like the exact same player to me, but top 40 kid. I don't really know a ton about him other than the highlights, and haven't done the work on that yet.
Lots of dunks.
He's not Cohen Carr.
Gideon, what's the best way to keep mosquitoes out of a drafty apartment? Shut the window.
Yeah,
Get
towel.
a bug zapper. My grandpa Nick used to have one back in the day. One of those old ones made out of steel, and you'd sit outside and stare at it. It was awesome.
Yeah, just watch the bugs fly into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bug zappers rule. Sean Mike next. When's the last time you both have been in a fist fight, and who won the fight?
Well, I used to have my buddy Marcus fight my fights for me when I was a kid, so that was most of my childhood. But in college, I was on the phone with the woman I was dating at the time, Irish exchange student, and standing on Pine Grove Street near Diversey in Chicago, and 2 gentlemen were walking down the street, and I was having a conversation, and they were having a conversation between themselves, and I told them to shut the fuck up, I'm on the phone. And one of them, real smart. One of them came over and decked me. My phone went flying. I went up on the hood of the car and picked up my phone, went up, found my roommate, said, let's go find these assholes and kick their ass. And to this day,
Boys in the Hood.
Yeah, to this day, I'm very grateful we didn't find them. We looked at on all the bars nearby, and I don't know what we would have done. And
He's got a stupid looking.
I mean, this guy.
What if you would have found the wrong guy though?
Well, here's
bad
the
with
thing.
faces, and you just like, hey man.
I told somebody to shut the fuck up, and his response was to punch me and knock me up on a car.
Yeah.
So why did I think I was going to win a fight with him? Like, if somebody told me to shut the fuck up, I'd be like, what, dude, really? Like,
You wouldn't throw a punch?
that would not be my instinct. And so So I would say
now, but if you're at the bar partying it up or something,
I would say I lost that fight.
you have some douchey guy telling you to shut up.
Another story worth telling,
Punch.
presented by Midtown Brewing Company. When is your last?
God. Well, I got tossed out of a bar. That wasn't really a fight. I didn't even get a punch off. I got chucked out of the street in like 2015.
Where was that?
It was over on Michigan Ave.
What'd you do?
I told this story. I was on a date, and the girl was shit-faced, out of her mind, and she told her cousin like where she was. So I was worried like this where she was going. She went into the other side of this bar, and they wanted me to pay a cover charge, and I was like, I already had enough of this chick. I was like, good Lord. But I didn't want to just she was ossified drunk, and I didn't want to like leave her there. So I went over, and the guy stopped me, and then I slapped his hand down, and that's like one of the last things I remember. And like these two giant dudes, because they have like bouncers that are like linemen, you know what I mean? Like those guys work part-time there, and I just got chucked. And so I didn't really throw a punch. Other than that, I don't know. I don't like I don't want to get into fights. I don't really enjoy it.
That also is a story worth telling, presented by Midtown Brewing Company, 402 South Washington Avenue.
Right. I mean, people ask us that a lot, but I really don't go out. I mean, in my 20s, you go out and looking for a fight, and that was so dumb. But now I'm just old and just want to sit at the house and watch golf.
It would take a lot
Get
for
high.
me to want to get in a fight now. Like, I don't even, to get that mad to want to throw a punch
now
at
that
somebody.
booze is gone, I mean, every fight I've been in my life involved alcohol. Like, I was never sober and got into a fight. So
And
now that there's no more booze.
One of the great things about Skyman is it does not make you want to fight.
Never. Andrew Gauthier next. Is there a better marker that is actually spring than the Masters? A tradition unlike any other. Lock in your Masters winner. Who you got, boys? I'd love to see Rory compete the career slam here, and he's in good form.
Rory didn't have a great start, though. Was not thrilled. I got a ticket on Rory, too, but whoever I have a ticket on is not going to compete in the Masters. So that was not great.
With Killbridge, I sprinkled on Spieth, and I said Cam Young at 30-1 would be a nice sprinkle.
Where's Cam Young now?
I thought he was 5 under, 6 under.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's a good play. Good play by you. Yeah, no.
But with the weather coming though, it's going to be nasty. So you never know.
And I don't think the thing's going to finish till Monday.
Right.
And that's good news because many people owe their bookies on Monday, so it'll be like a day late if you do that sort of thing with the
every 2 weeks though.
That's
some.
Yeah, it depends.
Sparty Ben, is the Masters the best tournament of the year? I mean, yeah. I think the Masters, you'll get people that like never watch golf. Like I had a roommate, Jeff, that would always watch the Masters. He hated when I watched golf, and he would watch the Masters. I think people get into it.
I never miss the Masters, and I'm saying right now I'm not going to watch it this weekend, but 100% I'm going to watch it this weekend because I love watching the Masters. I just need to learn how to.
What are you going to do on Sunday, though?
I'm going to watch. Well, when it's rained out, you mean?
Is that what you're praying for?
No, I mean,
You have Easter festivities, right?
No, I forgot it was Easter this week. I mean, I have really fallen. I mean, I have some work to do with the man upstairs because
quite a man of faith.
Yeah, I mean, so here's a conversation I had with a friend today. I couldn't figure out why so many of the English soccer games this weekend, other than the Premier League, were being played during the day on Friday, and like the time that would normally be on a weekend, not like night games over there. And 7:30 a.m. and 10 a.m. Torquay United, 10 a.m. tomorrow. And I said there must be some sort of holiday over there or something that allows people to have the day off. My buddy's, well, it is Easter this weekend and Good Friday tomorrow. Makes sense, That's a. I blame the fact that Easter and the Masters haven't always been paired the way they should. Like that should be a thing.
Who's to blame for what?
That's a Christian calendar error, for sure.
All right, Sparty Ben next. When do Tyson Walker and Malik Hall have to decide if they are coming back or not?
They've got, what is it? I don't have the exact date, but it's like June. Basically, it's like the beginning of June. I think they have to decide.
When they announce, but I mean, you think they've had talks with Izzo? Like there has to be some sort of dialogue currently.
100%,
right?
yeah, because they don't have to. Like if they're going to get in the transfer portal, there's a little bit tighter deadline. But this is about whether you're going to leave and go play pro ball most likely, and that is you're dealing with the NBA deadline because they don't have to do anything if they want to come back. They can just come back. They have the 5th year. They have the extra eligibility. They're no different than a sophomore. They're no different than Trey Holloman or Carson Cooper. I mean, those guys you just assume are coming back in a sense because they're sophomores. I mean, they can transfer or something, but so they've got a lot of time. I don't think it'll take that long. I would be very, very surprised if it took beyond this month, and much more than that. I mean, to me, I think we'll have some clarity on things. If I had to bet, I would say by the end of next week.
Sparty Ben next. What place do you guys prefer, Chipotle or Qdoba?
I'm not real picky. You?
Yeah, neither. I like both.
Yeah, same.
Whatever's like near us when we're hungry.
Yeah,
I'm like, all right.
And I've had great meals, both places. Yeah.
Spawn of Stout sponsors next. Folks, this reporter is worried, okay? If they go under, who will replace Sky Mint Cannabis as a sponsor? Could an NIL deal with hashtag Hawaii Spa be in offing? Is that right? I do hope that this is something Jason pulls off. Pulls off.
I may have
Two
fucked up.
times?
I may have fucked up the edit here. But yeah, no,
Dude, Hawaii Spa, that would be great.
yeah, it would be great.
Go use their whirlpool.
Is that what they have there?
I don't
Hawaii
know.
Spa. Yeah, I'm not.
It's a spa, right? Like you have to.
Should we do a thing sometime? And by the way, Skymint is firmly with us, so we're hoping hoping everything goes well for them.
They can live off
forward.
what I spend.
Yeah, that's right.
Shit.
Yeah, and if you want to support us, we always say support our sponsors. That includes Skymint, and so when you're making your choices for cannabis and gummies, anytime you go to Skymint, you're chipping in, so to speak. It would be funny for you and I to go to Hawaii Spa with like a body cam to see what the experience was.
Yeah, that we'll get shot doing that. I'm guessing.
Do you think they have people with guns
How
at
are you
Hawaii
gonna,
Spa?
No, I don't know, but I figure if two giant fat-headed white guys show up and there's a camera peeking out of the other guy's flannel, I don't think we'll get through the door. And I'm sure you'll be like, you're going to put your chest close to the people. I mean, it would just be a disaster.
You know what I'll do is I'll put the camera inside a box of Groovy Donuts, and they won't even know.
There you go.
Perfect. It'll go well.
Spawn of Stout sponsors next. I tell you, folks, when in my slimming muskox flannel, enjoying the TVs at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub across from the Frandor Mall, I wonder if Couch has considered its summer plans yet. A show hosted by Gavin Haas and Dominic. That's a summer we could believe in. We might lose our jobs, so those two guys.
Yeah, you don't want to get Wally pipped.
Yeah,
that is a concern.
Yeah.
So we would have to be nearby if the show started getting too good. We'd have to step in and just either take back over or have some technical difficulty.
Some dude next, number one or whatever this is. How many of Graham's shitty takes does one have to repeat to get a gift card? Cohen Carr can't dribble a basketball or guard a table. Booker won't be able to crack the 9 deep because he can't defend. It's way better to not make a bowl game under any circumstances. I surely thought the 2018 MSU football offense was going to be the best in all modern day college football.
That seems very gift card worthy, very Hopcat gift card worthy.
When he puts it all in a row like that, it is kind of amazing.
Amazing.
Just looking at your takes. Like
very,
that.
very kind word. Well, first of all, they're not all correct. Cohen Carr can't dribble a basketball or guard a table. I did not say that. Booker won't be the Xavier Booker one is not true. The way better not to make a bowl game under any circumstances, not true. The last one though is a doozy for all time because it's actually fairly close to
makes up for the others.
Yeah, it's actual shit.
Makes the others true.
Okay.
Some dude next with Texas A&M as my champion. I came in dead last in the Couch in the Roof bracket challenge. Can I please get the sleeves from Graham's Cutoff Muskox as a prize?
Done. We will send that.
Well, good news, some dude, because last place gets the same as first.
No bullshit.
Nothing. Some dude, seriously. Rick Carter mentioned that Izzo did it once, but what do you think are the chances that MSU applies some defensive backcourt pressure next year with all the extra bodies and athleticism?
It will be interesting to see if they try to play differently because here's the thing. It's easy to fall back into who you were last year if you're playing a lot of the same guys on the court. I think that having new blood in different styles and a guy like Jeremy Fears Jr. helps. I think that it'll be very interesting to see who plays and what the rotation looks like and how they make themselves different, because they need to be different. They absolutely have to be different. But some of that can be growth within. We've talked about that. But that's a good question. They're not going to full court press, because one of the things Izzo has said many times is teams that full court press, outside of maybe one Arkansas team, win a lot of games but never win championships. That's his big line. That's a big belief of his. And so, they don't tend to defend as well in the half court, and teams eventually figure them out. And so you won't see that. You might see it here and there, but you won't see it as a overall philosophy.
Spartan Mike next. Great show, guys. Questions. MSU special teams weren't very special last season. Couldn't snap, couldn't kick. Other than world-class punter, embarrassing. Has to get better, right? Could get worse.
Yeah, it doesn't have to get better. Having a better snapper would be key. The guy who was the problem, the guy that I wrote the nice article about, the backup snapper, is transferred, which probably helps.
Thanks a lot, Couch.
Yeah. So they had the problem is they had a world-class punter. So if that gets a little worse, I don't know that you automatically get better as a special teams unit. But there's no question they need consistent kicking. They're not a good enough program not to be able to count on field goals inside of 40 yards.
Spartan Mike, Alan Haller seems like a rock-solid AD. Campus cop to big school AD. Fascinating career path. Agree?
100%. Like, what?
Any of that stuff's fascinating.
12, 13 years ago, he was a cop on campus, right? I mean, and now he's, the AD of a multi-million-dollar, tens of millions, hundreds of million, $140 million enterprise, whatever it is. Yeah, I mean, so far, what I like about Haller so far, not just that he's a Sexton Big Red alum, but he is somebody that does not just live in the planning stages forever with grand ideas that never seem to happen or happen way, way down the road. Like, when something seems like it should happen, he does it, whether it's a change of a coach, whether it's the volleyball team needs or really wants to be in Breslin, finding a way to make that happen. Sometimes he probably gets ahead of himself a little bit. You'd much rather have that. You've got a guy whose priority is the overall health of an athletic department and cares about athletes who aren't just football and basketball players and wanting those sports to compete. And so I think so far, most of the grades are pretty damn good.
Plus size softball dad next. Does anything illustrate the Spartan football experience quite like reading a story on the improved offensive line depth in the afternoon and hours later reading a tweet that an offensive lineman wrecked his knee and required season-ending surgery?
Yeah, that happened yesterday. So now they have 18 offensive linemen available, by the way. It's not 19 anymore. That is very much true MSU. But this is why you have depth. This is why, that's going to happen every year. You are going to lose a couple guys in those positions to injuries that either derail part of their year or most of their year. And but it did seem very much like a Spartan football experience all in one day for the offensive line. We've got many more of your Groovy Donut Twitter questions. We'll take a quick break, come back. Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis and Firekeepers and the Firekeepers Eye Casino and Sportsbook app.
Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen, Bar, or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. Two amazing places with one awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wondered just how comfortable you can be? Find out with Muskox high-quality flannels. Muskox is a Detroit-based company that creates durable comfort that'll last a lifetime. Muskox flannels are thoughtfully designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. This will be the softest flannel you'll ever buy, guaranteed. For every $100 purchase, Muskox will donate $10 to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center. Get comfortable this fall and winter with Muskox flannels. Learn more or order yours today at gomuskox.com. Firekeepers Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play. Get your Vegas on right now from your phone, tablet, or laptop. All the hottest slots and tables, plus sports betting featuring in-game wagering. Download the app at firekeeperscasino.com. Go with the name you know. Firekeepers. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Wherever you are on your cannabis journey, let Sky Mint Premium Cannabis be your guide, your friend, and your place. Whether you're curious about cannabis or a seasoned connoisseur, Sky Mint's knowledgeable staff will help you with a vast selection of products to choose from to fit your needs. Sky Mint believes access to the best cannabis helps people do good and feel good, so they grow it right here in Michigan, giving you high-quality, locally grown cannabis at highly accessible prices. Visit skymint.com for special offers and location information throughout Michigan, and use the promo code CouchAndRube20 for 20% off your first visit. Sky Mint Cannabis. You'll love this place. Hopcat exists at the intersection of great beer and delicious food, complemented by music, art, community, and comfort. Home to the best-in-class beer experience served by craft beer experts. Guests can expect a casual, inviting local gathering place with some of the best damn burgers and fries you'll find in Michigan. Hopcat is proud to be an official supporter of Peyton Thorne. Show your Spartan pride by ordering the iconic Peyton Thorne burger, created by the man himself. And don't forget about Spartan basketball. Hopcat is your pre-game headquarters for basketball all season long. Catch the game at any of our locations: East Lansing, Detroit, Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, Kalamazoo, and Holland. To plan your next trip to Hopcat, visit www.hopcat.com.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by Sky Mint Premium Cannabis, inspiring us all to do better, be better, love better every damn day of our lives. And the 420 countdown is underway, the countdown to 420, which is obviously April 20th. You can enter to win one of 10 party packs or free weed at skymint.com. Go to skymint.com and for details. And you can also, you register actually by going into a Skymint, any Skymint anywhere, and going up to one of their kiosks and registering as well. So free weed for a year, which would be, Jason, what would happen if you won free weed for a year?
I wouldn't be doing this show.
There you go. So
no, I'd still do the show. Free weed for, I don't know. I'd be really happy and excited all the time.
Yeah. Our what night is it? Thursday night show, also presented by our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Also, Neurotic just clarified his by safe bet. He meant inexpensive, good odds, not too worried about losing a little money or getting a great payout. Those are kind of contradicting things. Like if you want good odds, you just take a big baseball underdog and you can put a little down and win a lot. But if you want something that you don't need a great payout for, you can.
So he wants a guaranteed bet that doesn't cost much, but it's a lock.
Here's what I would do. I would look at the games like when you're going to be there. You're going to be there for 8 hours. So what you really need is, if you want to bet a sports bet, look what's going to be happening and what you're going to be able to watch and what you might enjoy watching, and then do a little research and pick a side. That would be the best, most enjoyable way, win or lose. And or if you want to play a table game, just play a game you know and like. Like I love blackjack, and just trying to find a 10, if you're there for 8 hours, depends when you're there, but you might probably find it at a $10, $15 table. Just set your limit and enjoy.
Jay Riemenschneider, I hear you and other MSU talkers speak on Tuck's great recruiting. I know perspective matters, but so does semantics. He's talked with great recruits, but being ranked in the 20s aren't great classes, and 2024 is looking iffy at this time. Do you think Tuck will even get the class into the 20s?
Yeah, I don't know if he will or not, but I do think he's had great classes relative to expectations for the program and his trajectory. Like we talked last year, and we've done this a million times, on the idea that 7 4-stars was sort of the baseline for the trajectory he ought to be on, and he hit 9, right? So, and part of the reason his recruiting class wasn't ranked higher than it was is they didn't have a ton of guys in there, and that is something they need to look at. Are they not getting high 3 stars that they ought to be going after and whatnot? I'm not saying it's a perfect situation, but I don't think there's any evidence yet that the man can't recruit. But we'll see what 2024 looks like. They're going to have to do a lot of that coming off a year that wasn't great. It would help to get off to a decent start, and they're trying to sell a dream without a whole lot of evidence that it's going to take hold, and that's not always easy.
Next one from Jay. Do you think Juwan Howard was at the title game to get his name in good standing in case some of those guys transfer? Well, yeah. You gotta go network, right?
Yeah, and most coaches are at the Final Four. I didn't realize he was at the title game. Most coaches leave before the title game itself. They're there for the Saturday and the coaches convention. I mean, it's like if you might have to add staff, like almost every coach in college basketball is there on Saturday, and not a lot of them stay till Monday. But so I don't think it probably had anything to do with him trying to be to get his name in good standing. But I don't know why he was there.
Next one from Jay. Do you recall the Tigers ever having an evening game for the home opener?
I do not. Not as long as I can remember. It's possible it happened, but not in like the
Tiger Stadium, though?
Not in the last 20 years. I can't think of one. But it's also, I was living out of state for a while and not always paying attention, and so it's possible it happened. I just don't know. Because they play a lot of day games early. I mean, the weather sucks this time of year.
Chris Eastlick next. Should I make Graham go to Andy Provenzano for his softball forecast since he ignored my Twitter questions twice in 3 weeks? Is that true?
I didn't mean to. I don't know how it happened.
How did Graham let DeCourcy get away with quote tweeting him and not give him the lecture about ruining the discussion? DeCourcy is also just wrong.
Partly because I want to have DeCourcy on and have this debate, and we may have him on next Tuesday.
What, do you think you would have got pissed if you would have?
No, but I didn't even think about lecturing him there. I wanted to have the discourse, and sometimes when you lecture people and you shame them yourselves, the discourse just ends.
So when he comes on, if he comes on next week, you'll tell him about the quote tweeting thing.
I don't think so.
Oh
no, I will not. I will probably not.
All right.
But yeah, we might have him on next week.
Next one from Eastlick. What do you think was the biggest missing piece or thing for this MSU basketball team that prevented them from getting over the hump?
Oh, it was definitely rock solid, sound rebounding and center play. I mean, that was the thing that. I mean, if you add a Xavier Tillman, and he's an elite college defensive center, so that's a bit much. But if you add, the real question would be if they added, Marcus Bingham. Would they have or Julius Marble? Is that enough? I don't know that it would have been either of those guys, but certainly the position where they didn't have it, they had everything else. Was, and it's not that they couldn't be better at an individual position somewhere else, but overall they had the guard and forward play. They just didn't always have the center play.
Next one from Chris. Graham, based on what you hear from guys like Izzo or other coaches, do you think the Big Ten knows there is an officiating problem or that people think watching these games is brutal?
I think coaches think there's a little bit of officiating problem, no doubt. I don't think that I don't know that the league thinks there's an officiating problem, and that's part of the issue. They don't do anything. They don't do anything about it. Yeah. They don't. And they don't think it's a problem enough to put money into it, at least. Put significant money
into it. That is
insane. And maybe that's
crazy.
Maybe that's the right play in terms of the finances of it. Like, what do you take money away from to put money into it? I don't know.
Who gives a shit? But referees are kind of important, right?
They are important.
You have good ones that are well paid, and I don't know. Eastlick, speaking of 9:20 tip-off times, did Jason ever have to stay at the news station for a show that didn't go on till 1 a.m. because of basketball? Did it a couple of times during the tourney, and it was brutal. No, not basketball, but if you remember, Graham, in 2000, the Jets versus the Dolphins, Vinny Testaverde, it was called the Monday Night Miracle. I worked at ABC 53, and we did. After this game, we did change how we did things, but we had to stay. I think it was like 1:30 in the morning. I think we went on air and like no one's watching,
Yeah,
at that time. So the Jets scored 30 points in the fourth quarter. It was like 40-37.
Well, how did you change how you did things? You just
Well,
didn't do a
meaning the
show?
way we would just record. If like we saw like a game, if there was a Monday night game, I think we would just record early, something or other. But
Unless it was the Lions, yeah, there's no point even locally.
Right.
Yeah, the worst, and I have never in this business. I mean, I've had to work late for elections and sporting events and lots of things, and right overnight all the time. But I don't. But in terms of this sort of specific question, the thing I always feel worse for, if you've ever done Ebling's like Fox 47 show, NASCAR. You get NASCAR and weather, where that race gets delayed and doesn't end till like midnight, and then they do the local news, and then by the time Press Pass comes out on a Sunday night, even though we've recorded it early.
yeah, I was about to say you don't do it live.
No, we don't, but I feel bad because even while you're recording it, nobody's going to see it.
Yeah, but
Because
it
it's
is
that late.
2023. I think there has to be a way you can view it online. Or
It's
something
so
if
much
you
better
really-
now because nowadays it's streamed. Nowadays you can stream it, and a lot of people probably don't watch it live. But in the early days of Ebling, when it was not streamed and it was only on the local Lansing Fox 47 affiliate, and it was the middle of the summer, and a NASCAR race went till like 1:30 a.m., and you knew that thing was going on in the middle of the night to like 14 people. It was like that's you just
14.
4 maybe, and I was one of them.
And so is Ebling. Ken Chu, when does the 12-team college football playoff start?
2024. So not this year, but the next, which is great. I mean, I wish it was this year, but the fact that it's been moved up and we don't have to wait much is fantastic.
Couch on fire. What's the next sport where MSU wins the national championship?
Well, in terms of the revenue sports, you'd say basketball most likely, but if you just, you'd probably still say basketball because even in the non-revs that are really winning, like gymnastics is sort of on the edge of that top 10, but that's hard to crack and then be among them. Hockey's still a little ways away. Trying to think if there's something I'm missing. Golf gets to that level, but hasn't really won. So, I would say basketball would be the most likely given what they have coming back. I mean, it's still a long shot, but it's like if you're saying what's the most likely, you'd say basketball, men's basketball.
Next one from Couch on Fire. Rather than this craziness, wasn't the main point of NIL to stop schools and the NCAA from licensing student athletes for their own enrichment without compensating the player?
I mean, this was not the idea. The idea was not to have full-out pay for play, pay to, free agency in the transfer portal and all that stuff.
But you had to know something like this was going to happen.
Right. Always had the possibility. And if the NCAA could have prevented this, they absolutely could have got out in front of this. If they hadn't been against NIL for so long, they could have absolutely regulated this to the point that it would be a lot more palatable in a lot of ways. And I do think there is a chance that some of this goes away, that people are going to start looking at return on investment, that the way the sport is, I just don't know that all of this remains the way it is. But we'll see.
Now, last one from Couch on Fire. Surprise Big Ten team in football and basketball next year.
In football, I do think either Maryland or Rutgers, one of those coaches will get it going. Probably Maryland, and if that's in the East, that's like another pain in the ass for Michigan State. So I would say something like that would be the surprise team. In basketball, it's so hard to say who would surprise, because teams rarely catch you by surprise like the way Northwestern did this year. I don't think it'll be Minnesota.
Rutgers?
Yeah, but they were like 13 decent teams in basketball. So who's really going to surprise you, right? I don't know if there is one.
All right. Shep, is this the real Shep? CBS Sports posted an article this week showing Big Ten recruiting budget rankings. MSU was 9th in the conference. What in the actual fuck are we doing? Okay, this isn't the real Shep. All this noise about recruiting, Tuck coming, NIL, Ferrari photo shoots. This indicates to me that the administration and Ishbia, etc., don't get it and aren't doing what matters to enable MSU to compete as a top 15 national program.
Let me give you a counterpoint. So what really matters these days? Recruiting budget or NIL budget? That's not part of your recruiting budget. So if I were to tell you that like Matt Ishbia was helping to make sure some of Michigan State's basketball players were sticking around and was a big part of those NIL deals. What's more important these days? Right now, that's your recruiting budget. If Joey Hauser stays, and I don't know that that's best for MSU basketball, as good a player as he is, it won't be because he hasn't had his fill of college. It'll be because he's getting paid, and that's not in the recruiting budget. Wait
a minute. Hauser's going to come back?
I'm not saying he is, but I'm just saying he hasn't yet. There's some.
Whoa.
I don't think he will. But let me just say, if he comes in, and I'm guessing Tyson Walker, the finances has a little something to do with it. So I think that is part of it. Now, there are limitations. Michigan State is not at the top end of everything. It just isn't. I mean, as they say in the SEC, it just means more, right? So, but even in the Big Ten, ninth in terms of recruiting budget, they have given Tucker a lot of what Tucker came in, and one of the things he did was say, this is what it takes. And they've met him with everything he wants, as far as I know, at least early on. They met him. I mean, they had donors donating private planes to get the coaches around, and they've had the types of cars they pick up recruits with. They have met a lot of the changes that he thought were required, but that's an interesting point on the actual recruiting budget. I would be curious to know how much they thought it was hurting or helping them. I think NIL is probably much more important than your recruiting budget these days.
Next one from Bo. At what point do we get a story about the culture problem in Michigan's athletic department? We're prosecuting kids for a simple fight after a violent game, but no one questions Michigan football players after a rape. At least USA Today covered it, unlike the locals. Could you imagine if Mel Tucker called a sexual assault victim's mother like Harbaugh?
So this is a story USA Today did, which is part of the Gannett Network, which is part of the Freep and In Us and all that stuff. But they were the ones leading it on a young woman whose story sounds pretty awful, and I would urge you to read it. And I don't want to give Harbaugh too much shit because she wrote a personal letter to him with her phone number on it, right? It was to his house, and her daughter was no longer alive, and there was no investigation. Like I don't know that what he did at that point was anything wrong. I understand what you're saying, the double standard but I mean, Michigan's taking it on the chin for this, and certainly what those players may have done. I mean, what happened? Yeah, the way this woman's life was at the end sounds kind of shit, But I don't know that this incident speaks to a culture problem in Michigan's athletic department. Just like I'm not sure that every incident at Michigan State or any other place speaks to a culture problem. There are kids who are entitled athletes who do stupid things sometimes and struggle with consent, and hopefully that's getting a little bit better with more and more awareness and more education. But that is definitely, athletes struggling with consent is not new, and it's not a Michigan problem. It's not a Michigan State problem. It is just a problem.
Next one from Bo. What do you think MSU is doing now that on the basketball recruiting trail that's different than what they've been doing lately? We are on fire lately.
It's a good question. I do think Izzo was motivated with Booker and like to really roll up his sleeves and land him. Some of it is where they are geographically helps. I mean, if you look at Izzo's best recruits, for the most part, they have over time, and best classes have been when he gets guys who are Indianapolis. Chicago he's kind of struggled with, so that's a big deal to get Christie 1 year and Jeremy Fears Jr. A couple years later from an area that he hasn't always done that well. But Michigan, Indianapolis, Ohio, that 4-hour radius has sort of been his sweet spot. And when there aren't a lot of great players within that radius, he tends to not have these sort of classes.
Last one from Bo. Do you think people have the correct perspective on just how much of a rebuild Mel Tucker needed to do? We've had some nice pieces from D'Antonio, but depth was lacking big time. And from, Rompus Dillashaw. In 2025, the year when we see whether or not we need to worry about Tuck's performance. Sorry.
So I think the year they went 11-2, Jason. I mean, you would think the year they went 11-2.
That was a crazy season.
Right, but
Up and down.
it changed the way the rebuild was viewed. It felt like they had arrived to a degree when they hadn't. Right, it sort of threw us all off the scent of what was real.
But we did realize they did get really lucky to go 11-2.
Yes,
We did realize that.
Yeah, and they fell further last year than they probably needed to. That's fair too. Like there were lots of things they did not maximize who they could have been last year. I don't think, even with the injuries and everything else. But it when you start to look at that roster and how much of a rebuild it was at the end, I mean, it's, if D'Antonio hadn't left, it might have gotten really, really ugly. In some ways, it's good that he left when he did for him, because he had some rough years at the end, frustrating years, but it never got abysmal to the point where he had to be let go. And that when you start to look at the depth of talent on the roster that Tucker's had, I don't know that wouldn't have happened if D'Antonio stayed, that they wouldn't have run into that. 2025 for me is judgment year. You ought to see other things. You ought to see growth and improvement and signs of life and things that are positive in the program this year. 2024, there ought to be a significant step up in terms of they ought to look like a program that's sort of on the come. But 2025 is the year when his first true recruiting class, which was freshmen last year, will be seniors and redshirt juniors. And if this program is going to, it's not that they have to win the Big Ten that year, but if the program under Mel Tucker is ever going to truly compete at the top of the Big Ten, we ought to be able to see the evidence of that year.
Rompus Dillashaw, do you see anyone in the Big Ten winning a college football title in the next 5 years other than maybe Ohio State?
I mean,
Michigan's got there
you get
2 times.
Yeah, and you get to 12 games. I understand it's different than basketball, but I do think you'll have more parity with more teams getting in. And, USC will be in the Big Ten, so
That's
there's
true.
that. I can see them winning it. I do think that when you have a larger tournament and there's more seats at the table, you will start to have more parity and more teams that are, have it. Because obviously, even if you have 12 teams, a lot of years, there are really only 2, 3, maybe 4 teams that have a legitimate shot. But I think that will start to expand over time.
Next one from Dompus. Is Detroit still Hockey Town, or has city fandom shifted towards the Lions?
It was never Hockey Town. That was great branding. It's always been the
Listen,
Lions.
when the Red Wings are good, though.
But it's never Red Wings first. It's Lions first.
I think it might be.
Right?
Well, have the Lions been that great when the Red Wings were really good? I just think that you can have both. Little Caesars, they're going to be packed for the Red Wings if they're good, and people are still going to love the Lions. That's all they want to talk about down there.
But they got, even the Red Wings in the 2000s were not selling out Stanley Cup and playoff games. Like, they were empty seats at these things.
Really?
And and I'm not saying the Lions haven't had their moments. I went to a Lions game in 1998, Darryl Rogers' final game, the year before Barry Sanders at the Silverdome, and there were like 25,000 people there against the Tampa Bay
year?
Bucks, 1988.
Oh.
But since Barry, like, that has been, and I just say this based on like readership and interest. Like, I see the metrics. The Lions move the needle much more than the Red Wings in terms of.
That's the LSJ analytics you look at?
Oh, the Freep analytics. I have access to the Freep too.
Really? Can we look at Los's
You want
articles
to do that
down there?
someday? Yeah, we'll just. Yeah.
I don't need to see it. I know. Cinema next. What happened to Michigan coach Matt Weiss?
Weiss.
He was vaguely charged with computer crimes in February. No update in over 2 months. Is anyone following up with this? I think Graham owes us a blue wall tattoo soon.
No. Well, the story happened inside of the time. Like, it was February 13th. It was the day of the shooting on MSU's campus. So, there hasn't. It got buried pretty quickly. But, now there are going to be charges, and there's, there will be a follow-up 100%. Whatever happens, I'm saying 100% a lot now. Like, this is like a, I heard this somewhere, and now I've adopted it. And I've said it a lot in the last
Go
week and a
1,000.
half. 1,000%.
I go 1,000%.
1,000%? Okay.
Yeah.
1,000%.
120%?
I should pick my own number.
Yeah.
147%.
There you go.
All right, we'll do that.
Catchy. PMKC next. Someone pointing out a sexual assault is not an invitation to point out how this happened at your rival's school. This is not a contest. Fucking stop it. These crimes should be investigated and fairly prosecuted always, no matter who and no matter where.
Here. I know.
Point. Dark
Let it
Mantonio.
marinate for change the tone of it a little bit before we move on. You want to read a sponsor read after the sexual assault comment?
Dark Mantonio, since 1998, would you rather your team be MSU with 25 straight NCAA tourneys, 10 conference titles, 8 Final Fours, and 1 Natty, or be UConn with 8 NCAA tourney misses, 6 conference titles, 6 Final Fours, and 5 Natties, which is tied all time with Blue Bloods Duke and Indiana, and more than Kansas.
This is really good. This is Hopcat or Cosmic Fries question of the day, worthy from Hopcat. But I would say this. So here's the question for you: would you rather have UConn's last 25 years or Michigan State's? Michigan State's in the tourney every year, 10 conference titles, 8 Final Fours, and 1 national title, or UConn, which has missed the tourney altogether 8 times in those 25 years, has fewer conference titles and Final Fours, but has 5 national titles now. Which would you rather
Why
have?
do I think this is really, really easy? I would take the 5 Natties.
100%.
I mean,
147%.
Great way to use it.
Yeah, no, like it's not
Right?
even it's not even close. It'd be
Okay.
one thing if it was or 2 national titles. Then it's the debate because
No.
you're like,
No.
you'd still take the 2 national
I'd
titles?
take the 5.
No, what I'm saying is if the debate was
Oh, you mean
1 or
UConn
Michigan State, if UConn had 2,
Wow.
I'd go 1 then. I'd take
Well, if
Michigan
you're going to
State
do it
then.
that way, Jesus, if you're going to undercut 4 titles or
Right. No, 147%. But you take the national titles. I mean,
take the national titles away. Do you want Michigan State or UConn? It's like, all right.
right.
You're going to put it in a way where you have to take Michigan State.
They've done it with 3 different coaches. They fired a coach who won a national title. It's not all
Fucking
been
A.
fun. There are going to be a lot of years that aren't as fun. There's no question. They've been a mid-major program for a while, basically kicked out of major conference basketball till the Big East came back. Said all that, they've got 5 national titles in
25 years.
It's an incredible success, and you take
And
that.
the women's program.
Right.
You take that into account. UConn basketball is pretty unbelievable.
Yeah.
Dark Mantonio, I haven't listened to every episode lately, but Graham, did you win the MSU basketball season bet?
I did. It was somewhat close, but I was never fully sweating it.
Yeah, I think you sweated it.
I sweated it
More than you thought you were going to.
147%.
Dark Antonio, have either of you had a Runza sandwich? If so, please elaborate.
I don't know what that is. Do you? Look it up.
Is that like you ask what's Runza and it's like Runza on my balls? Or
You see, I'm a little worried to look it up that I'm going to like porn sites or something. And
Well,
not,
speaking
not-
of-
Oh, no. Here we go. This looks pretty good. Runza is a yeast dough bread pocket with a filling consisting of beef, cabbage, or sauerkraut, onions, and seasonings. Oh, my gosh. This looks amazing. I've not, but only 530 calories.
when have you given a shit about calories?
I care about calories. That's why I love Groovy Donuts, because donuts, fewer calories than bagels. You know, so like
bagels.
Bagels. I can't say it. Bagels. You go to Groovy Donuts. Go to groovydonuts.com. Get your own low-cal Groovy Donut relative to bagels, and it tastes...
Go to Vegas and get some bagels, or however you say it.
100 times better, by the way. Yeah.
All right, Eric Larson next. Not a question, but was in Houston for the Final Four and realized the Tigers were in town. Decided to catch the Wednesday game for potential sweep. Love the pitch clock. Great moves. Game moves along great. Much more entertaining and little downtime. Didn't realize how much fart around time there was before.
I love the pitch clock.
It's the best.
It's amazing. And there's a was it Russillo's podcast? Russillo had Theo Epstein on. And you know,
Russillo's a guy that would wear a cutoff muskox.
He would. And it's a good interview with Epstein, because Epstein gets into all the points. Like, he basically takes responsibility for being part of a group of people that sort of hurt baseball because they were out to win. And the metrics that create all the things that we're winning in baseball right now were not actually good for the sport overall. Now he works for MLB, and they're sort of looking at it from a different perspective and what fans really want, and trying to put those rules in place and then sort of build off of that. It's a good interview if you get a chance. Not that I'm, listen to our show first, but Theo Epstein's probably not gonna come on here. Yeah, the pitch clock's amazing. It's changed the sport, and I think it's.
And how much time is it cut? I mean, yeah,
it's
what,
25
like a half hour,
25 minutes right now on average. Yeah,
just by visuals though, watching those guys not get out of the batter's box and do the stuff with the gloves, it just makes it feel even more than 30 minutes.
Because the minutes that are happening are more action packed.
Right.
It's just more stuff. Yeah, 147%.
Steve, are the Pistons really this bad? Historically bad, and realistically, next year early expectations.
Yes and no. And
it's Wembanyama time though.
Yeah, well, except they get a 14% chance of tanking now in the NBA doesn't do you all that much good unless But
why not? I mean, you might as well take the 14% chance.
Right.
Not going to make a play-in game with his team.
And the next two guys, Scoot and Brandon Miller, are both I think pretty good picks.
You like Miller, huh?
I do. As a wing, yeah.
All right.
You don't like him?
It has nothing to do with the gun thing or whatever. I watched him in the tournament.
He had a bad tournament.
And wasn't that?
There's no doubt.
Yeah. Cucker.
No. So let me add. I don't think because Cade Cunningham was out, and the thing like last night the Pistons were playing, and they had all these guys out, and you're thinking, oh, this is a bullshit lineup nobody cares about late in the season. Except the lineup had Jalen Duren in it and Jaden Ivey, two guys I want to see develop, and had Wiseman, who I'm curious. So three guys starting, even at the end of a horrible year in the final week of the season, were guys that I'm interested to play. I'm interested to see playing. And that's what makes this different than other eras when they've been awful, is they actually have pieces that they're trying to develop. I do think this is a big offseason. They need Cade Cunningham healthy. They need to make sure they have a veteran presence. They need to grow. They need to be where Orlando is this year, competing for, one of those play-in spots deep into the year where they just you got to see progress winning a year from now. But I don't, I don't think – I'll put it this way. The Pistons are a lot closer to a championship than the Chicago Bulls, who are just now figuring out that they've got to tear it all down. They don't always have the draft capital. They haven't even gotten bad enough yet to get good. And so I'd rather be the Pistons than a lot of teams in the NBA.
Tucker Tarleson, will Wembanyama change the NBA?
Have you watched a lot of him?
Just highlights, like the three-pointer miss that he ran in and dunked without it even bouncing again. It's
like the stuff you do in your living room on a dunk it. It's pretty amazing. It'd be interesting to see if he holds up physically, right? I mean, it's sort of one of those guys you wonder.
Yeah.
But
those big guys always have, like, Liz Frank. Liz Frank always comes knocking if you're, like, 7'5".
The worst.
Mojo Jojo, will more NBA caliber players skipping college and going to the G League help or hurt MSU and Izzo's title chances in the mid to long term?
I mean, so what I'm curious about is, first of all, I think stability is good in college basketball, and MSU's had that. In terms of guys going to the G League and how that is, how that affects, those guys going to the G League and going to the NBA or whatever right out of school are not the guys that are ultimately winning titles right now anymore. But if the Anthony Davises and the ones who are the occasional freshmen who really do that are sometimes not going into college basketball, I think it absolutely helps Izzo.
Mojo, if you both had the choice, do you go to the G League for the hope that of the NBA dream, or go to Europe for the paycheck?
Where are you going, the G League or the Europe?
Well, what kind of player am I, though?
Yeah.
Do I have an actual shot, or is it just in my head I think I can make the NBA? I mean, I would love to, some of these teams in Europe to see how they live.
Yes.
I would probably go do that. I mean, because if you're a good player, if you do well in Europe, there's tape of you.
Yeah,
you can still make the NBA.
You can come back over with a guaranteed deal. Yeah, and you go over and live the lifestyle in Europe and some of these places.
They love you there.
You're playing once a week. They give you free housing. And now you want to go to a good club. There are places where you don't get paid, and that's an issue. But if you go to
don't do that.
Yeah, you go to a good place. It's I would get to see Europe in your 20s. Yeah, that's the play.
Mojo, Spin Zone, for and against the NFL creating their own G League.
It wouldn't work. It's just too expensive because people don't care about the actual players. They don't want to watch lower level football. That's the thing. There's no value in most of the guys who are playing college football. The value is in the schools they go to, which creates the values for them, because people care about the schools.
I disagree, though.
You think?
I think I could get into, if our Detroit Lions like practice squad guys, I definitely would tune in to see how we're doing.
I think that would be the key.
Right.
What you just said there, it would have to be. It could not be sort of a separate minor league where there were guys. The guys would have to be affiliated with, because the Lions are what creates the emotional attachment to those guys. So yeah, that's a good point. If the Lions are, if they don't all play in like Alabama, like what the XFL or whatever the other one, USFL league, yeah,
like you have it in Michigan where you can see the guys. I don't know. It's the only way to make it work, or have really good stars, I guess. Matt C. next. Why does Graham hate NBA talent and transfers? Look, in Izzo's recent Final Four teams, in 2019, they lost to a Texas Tech team with a bunch of transfers. In 2015, they lost to Duke, which had a few one-and-dones. Try-hard 4-year guys don't win titles.
They don't have tryhards. I know what you mean by tryhards. They don't. They've got better than tryhards. They have upper-tier college. Tyson Walker's not a tryhard. A.J. Hoggard, who put 25 up in the Sweet 16 and couldn't be stopped is not a tryhard. The defense that Jaden Akins played is not tryhard basketball. They may have an occasional tryhard relative to certain things, but like the way Duke won that year, and they did have one-and-dones, and I'm not saying you don't want one-and-dones, and that was back when one-and-dones were still doing it, but they had a senior guard on that team as well. They don't win without him. And there's no doubt that the transfer thing is work for some people. And if you're okay with that being your culture, I think Izzo is probably philosophically actually okay with it as long as it's not bringing in somebody who is this, and so many guys that it overwhelms what he's created, sort of building it up. I think now, though, he's also in a point where he wants to win without having to do that and to be able to say it. And but I also think if they need a player, they'll go get it. If they feel they need a player, like Tyson Walker was a guy they felt they needed a point guard coming out of that year, and they went and got him.
Matt C. Is there anything whiter than the Masters?
I don't know, the British Open maybe?
Astronauts high-fiving at the championship game and Hallmark TV trivia night at Graham's house.
There are a lot.
Two whiter things than the Masters.
There is a lot of diversity in Hallmark. There's more diversity than there used to be in the Hallmark
at
movies.
The party? At your house?
At the party. How much diversity do we have? That was not a very diverse crowd that night, that particular night. But I don't.
It's like the Izzone there, am I right?
It had some Izzone qualities. The Izzone is not my favorite group. Yeah, we'll work on that for next year's gathering.
Next for Matt C. Does Tuck come this year?
This ain't the year. 2024, 2025, it's going to happen.
Senior Riverboat Tubin next for Jason. Any cards recently come in that you're excited about? If a player takes off and becomes more popular or plays well and gets in the MVP race, does the cards value follow suit? How do you check? Curious to hear more about the card space, and you're the guy to talk to. I love cards. I haven't been buying as much. I bought a Scotty Scheffler Sports Illustrated for Kids card before the Masters. To answer your question, if a player does, I mean, it depends on the player, because even if a player wins, like let's say it wins the Masters, their cards might not take off. Like if Bryson DeChambeau wins, I don't know, because of the live stuff. It's just it's where the market dictates like who you should buy. Like Shohei Ohtani, his cards they're rocketing because of the baseball classic and then the season. But yeah, I'm buying a lot of golf cards right now. I love golf cards. Tyrone,
I love that you've gotten into this though. Like I'm envious a little bit of this hobby you have, because it's something that we all found. It's like it was the purest hobby I had as a child.
Yes,
and to rediscover it as an adult is, I think,
I
really
did
cool.
collect. I still collected throughout the year. Like I had my childhood kind of collection that I had throughout the year, but I stopped collecting, and then my mom passed away, and I needed like something to distract me and all that stuff. So I ended up going to like Target and Walmart and buying. I saw the cards out there. I'm like, I used to love doing this so much. And then since 2020, I've been doing it ever since. Met some great like friends in it, and I do card shows here and there at the Lansing Mall, and it brings me back to the day, Graham, going to the mall with my dad. Like my dad used to be a card dealer when I was younger, so It brings back those kind of memories. And like I said, like the hobby people, there's maybe 4% that are absolute douchebags, but the rest, I mean,
Good folks.
really good people.
That's awesome.
Tyrone Couch next. Did you eat your hard-boiled eggs that have been hidden around the house as a kid? I would leave mine in the basket and eat them for like a week. According to health professionals, I should be dead. That also explains my tweets.
I'm sure I ate some of them.
You guys had real eggs, though?
Yeah, we had real eggs.
Dude, I came from a broken home. There was like coins in that, like the shell eggs.
Yeah.
I never saw like a real egg. I would be pissed.
No, and by the end too, we knew all the hiding places. My sister and I could do the egg hunt because it would be like 24 eggs hidden around the house, and it would take us about 48 seconds.
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah,
did you live on a vineyard? I mean, your house, you pretty much know every nook and cranny.
Right. It's like there's always going to be an egg behind the the part where you put the piano music in the piano. There's always going to be.
And your parents stopped giving a shit. Like, all right, put one over there.
On the bookshelf here, there's always going to be one. The problem was when we would have like 23, and it was like, where'd the other one go? And now you know there's just an egg rotting somewhere in the house. You're like, why? We can't find that one.
Tyrone Couch, how many he is Andre Rison indeed jokes will we see this weekend? Can Firekeeper set an over-under for us? I have no idea what he's talking about.
I don't either. He's right. Oh, I mean,
this is your burner account. You should know.
He is rising. I mean, it's Jesus is
oh,
rising.
Shit. Okay.
I see.
Man, went over my head.
Yep.
All
not
right.
a lot. Not a lot. Hopefully, this is probably the only one.
Hell.
I go under 1, under 2. This is 1. So 1.5 under.
Take that act on the road. Tyrone Couch, should we celebrate the Wings and Tigers both hitting 2-game win streaks, or understand that it means nothing? At least we have the Lions. Weird.
The Wings are a little different. They're still in. They've been a much more competitive club all year. But hell, the Tigers. I thought after that first series we're going to go like 0-162. So celebrating competitive days for them is okay.
But you can just tell with the off season and the vibe, it's not going to be a good Tiger season.
It's not.
Fart Soup, Jason, what other words do you have for penis? I've heard you say mule and cobra. Fucking cobra. I haven't cobra recently. I'm a huge fan of both. The word that is. Cocks are fine. Dude, I've never said cobra, have I?
I don't remember you saying
Is that
cobra.
you?
I wouldn't say cobra.
I do say mule because it makes me laugh.
It made me laugh when
right.
you said it. Okay.
Yeah. But I don't really have any other ones.
Nobody's ever accused us of being a mature show.
Yeah. Fart Soup. Jason asked if he needs to follow more of the clan. This begs the question, which clan accounts is he following now? That's a good question. I'm not sure. If they are, they're not like outwardly doing it. I was just saying it because of the LSU players saying that people were calling them thugs. I was just asking like where some of this stuff is coming from because I'm on Twitter a lot. I follow sports religiously. I have never seen any of that. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but are we talking about people with 3 followers or following 3 people and following none or something with no picture in there, no name? Does that really count as being – it's just someone being a shithead, trying to stir stuff up.
There are lots
right?
of shitheads on my Twitter feed. There are lots
Absolutely.
of them. Yeah.
I'm just asking. Like, I mean, let's see some receipts of where these people are. I just feel if someone actually with credibility or a blue check mark, and I know it takes anyone, but if you're going to Twitter to do a blue check mark, you actually care. If you're saying that kind of stuff, then I'm like, oh, shit, okay. But I haven't seen it. I don't know. Fart Soup. I'm flying back to get married May 26th in Clinton County. What is Graham's officiating vig? And does he have a recommendation for an after party? Cue live read.
Yeah, no, I would tell you right now that Front 43 and Cask and Company or a Midtown Brewing Company would be an awesome place.
Will you do Fart Soups? I think he's asking you.
I don't know Fart Soup well enough. First of all, I call him Fart Soup, which is the first sign that we're not close. And so I need.
What
to
does that matter?
Well, I need to be close. I'm not a gun for hire here. I'm not, because I'm not like, I like being able to. It's sort of like our sponsors. I like being able to speak from the heart. When I talk about my love for Groovy Donuts, you can hear it coming out of me in a lot of ways.
See it going in.
Yeah. So I want, it's got to be genuine. And it's not that I don't like Fart Soup. I appreciate Fart Soup. But that's a line I never thought I'd say in my life.
You could say it again.
I'd appreciate Fart Soup. I appreciate Fart Soup.
Do you take Mrs. Fart Soup?
Yeah, there you go.
You're good at it, though. Hans Jurgen, until football season, can we talk about nothing but donuts and sex?
I mean, I would be up for that, but I think
You
most
don't
people
want to
get
hear us talk about sex.
No.
I don't like seeing myself have sex. Let alone talk about it.
Do you watch yourself have sex?
Yeah, dude, totally.
Yeah.
I've got a camera in the corner. Just when I need to see every angle of what I'm doing. No, fuck no. Lights off. Jake Hoggins, how frustrating is it that Tom Izzo and MSU aren't considered a blue blood since they have one title?
Well, I mean, first of all, UConn's not a blue blood either. Like a blue blood is, the idea is like noble birth, right? Indiana's a blue blood. It'll take a long time for them not to be. UCLA is a blue blood just based on the wooden ears, even though they have like 17 fans and they don't sell out Pauley Pavilion. Like most MAC teams have more fans than UCLA. But UConn is not Michigan State, by winning a second title, does not become a blue blood. They become a program that's done it again. That's impressive. I think it's something that would mean a lot to Izzo, but that doesn't change what MSU basketball is. They're one of the elite programs in college hoops. That's why they're in the Champions
But how
Classic.
is UConn not a blue blood, though? Five championships in 25 years, and then you couple that with the women's team. I mean,
because of where they came from, and the school that couldn't win anything in Storrs, Connecticut. That you can't.
That blue bloods thing's bullshit.
Well, yeah, blue blood is not the right word for it. Elite program is what they are.
Jake Hawkins, since you said that over this offseason of all of MSU's big men need to hit the weight room and spend as much time in there as possible to develop gains in size and strength, what weightlifting exercise should our best, I don't even know what's happening here, best for those gains in basketball players besides squats, of course?
Yeah, I'm not a big squat guy. I think it's bad for the knees, but unless you do it right, and I worry I won't do it right. It's a good question because I'm not the best example. I have short arms, and so I like to bench press. But I would guess, things where allow you to jump.
You're that guy at the gym that comes in and does chest I'm
the chest guy.
Day.
I'm chest guy. Yeah, no question. You've seen me be chest guy.
I did.
What did I do? 12 of 225. You know, that's me. I'm chest guy. Like
I don't know if that was really 12. I mean, they were like half.
No, bullshit.
Like
just because I have short arms doesn't mean they're not full.
It's easier when you have short arms.
No doubt. I'm not saying they're not. I can't even do it.
So that's why it's half.
I can do like one pull up.
I think you did 6.
I did 12. Bullshit. Fuck. No. We have video of it.
I understand. I know that. You can watch. I could watch you do it again, but you're only going up halfway because your arms are so short.
It's full weight for me. Just because I'm deformed does not mean
but it's easier for you to do it.
Well, yeah, no doubt. People with short arms are better with push-ups. There's yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's easier. So you did 6.
No, I did 12.
All right, next one from the Hawk. If MSU had lost to Kansas State, beat both Florida Atlantic and San Diego State, how close and competitive would the Spartans have made the national title game for UConn? And for how long? One half or the whole game?
They would have needed a game where they just shot the piss out of the ball, right? And they have that in them. But short of that, I think that they were going to be, down. I don't think it would have been a blowout, but it was going to be a game where they were down, 7 to 10 points a lot of the game and probably lost by, 10-12 or something like that. But we've seen it where they get red hot and you need to win one game, and so it would have been possible.
Next one from the Hawk. Thoughts on this year's Final Four and national championship game being the last one that Jim Nantz will be on the call?
Yeah,
good.
I like Jim Nantz, but I'm not emotional about it, I guess.
Nantz's voice, we've heard it for how many years during March. But honestly, when someone does it, we'll just move on. And Nantz is still doing the Masters in pro football, right? Nantz is really good at his job. Do not get me wrong. But he's just a tool. He's whiter than the Masters.
Yeah, and he'll still be on the Masters and on football, so we'll still see him. So I don't think it's not like we're missing him.
Jake Hawkins. What do you anticipate for MSU football next Saturday? An actual game of green and white, or green versus white, or another glorified showcase of practice and drills?
Another showcase of practice and drills with a little bit of scrimmaging. I do think they'll have some scrimmaging. I think they're healthy enough to do it, but I just think the precedent has been set. I think if they really it's both the weather might be nice. Let me do a Chris Eastlick weather report here. I got it up already. So this is promising. Next Saturday right now it's supposed to be 73 and sunny. If they get 73 and sunny, they ought to put on a show because they'll get a good crowd. And if you care about having a good crowd and wanting people to come back for these sort of spring events and remember it being a lot of fun,
let people tailgate.
Well, tailgating would help, but also have a game that's entertaining. The more entertaining you make it for people, the better. I think it'll be mostly a practice with a little bit of scrimmaging in the practice.
Upper Deck Jerk Guy, do either of you suffer from cacodemia demonomania.
It is the form of insanity in which a patient believes they are possessed by an evil spirit.
Wow.
I
haven't been there.
I've not been to that level.
Maybe if I take some acid or something.
Yeah, that Skymint will not do that to you.
No.
That's our promise.
Jerk guy, what would you do to improve the fan experience at Spartan Stadium?
More troughs at more restrooms. I mean, I like the troughs.
Beer. Is that happening this year?
Until the state law gets passed, no.
2025?
Yeah.
Just keep waiting around? Okay.
I think they've taken some steps. There are places where, ultimately you'd want fewer seats with more room, right? Where it's a better seating experience. So, I mean, and financially this probably doesn't make sense, but go down to 60,000 seats and make it a little more comfortable would be probably my best advice.
Jerk guy, what would be the worst way for you to die?
Oh, anything where I could see it coming and it was bloody and slow.
That's pretty much everything then.
Yeah.
All right. Jerk guy, will the Tigers lose 100 games? Yeah, probably. I don't know.
So can I get to 63 wins is the question. I have an over-under bet where I took them slightly at 69.5. So I don't feel good about it.
How many more pick the sticks do we have to do?
Man.
100 and some, huh?
I think the Tigers will lose 100. But I do think that will not be determined until the last week. So there's that to look forward to.
Jerk guy, how many wins does Tucker need to solidify the fan base behind him?
I don't think it's a number of wins. I think it's how it looks and how it feels, and you sort of know when you see it. Now, obviously, there is a certain amount of wins that change how it looks and how it feels, and who you beat matters. But I think it's competence and it's elements of excitement where that guy, that's interesting. That's and so I think if people see improvement and it feels like the program's headed somewhere, you can win 7 games next year and people will be okay. If it feels like they could have won 2 more and they win 7, people will be concerned. And so I think it'll be how it looks and whether they maximize things and whether there's some promising young players that look like they're and whether he keeps recruiting. I think that's another thing too, is during next season, you're going to be recruiting that following class and the 2024 class. And if that class looks like another good group, then I think, and there's some wins involved as well, then people will be okay.
Last one from the Jerk guy. Crocs, yes or no?
Are you a Crocs?
I can't. I wore them in jail and it gives me PTSD.
Did you have to wear them in jail? Did they give them to you?
Dude. Yeah. What am I walking my bare feet? I mean, they give you Crocs.
That's the
and
thing.
An orange jumpsuit.
So, like, I wear size 14s. They would have Crocs in size 14s.
Screwed.
Jesus. I didn't know Crocs
with bare feet.
Were prison shoes.
Not prison, dude. Jail. Jail. Prison, you get your own shoes.
Hey, that's what happens when you say I did 6 reps of 225. I did 12, damn it. 12.
All right, valid.
We appreciate all of you and your Twitter questions. Thanks to Groovy Donuts. Go to groovydonuts.com to place your Easter orders, or just swing by Groovy Donuts 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday, any week. We also appreciate Hopcat and, of course, Firekeepers and the Firekeepers Eye Casino and Sportsbook and Skymint as well. If you're listening to this show, you probably are very, very familiar with Skymint. We'll be back Sunday night with our hot takes. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.